Hey guys, Alex here. Today we will be working on two Nintendo Switch Joy-Con that have different issues. This particular one has a joystick drift issue where if you move it in any direction, it gets stuck and continues to move in that direction. We will replace the component so that it functions as intended. I have not talked about these kind of repair assistants before within this channel, although there are 3D printed tools that I like to use when I do my repairs. They are absolutely not necessary, although they do make the repair easier and sometimes even safer. This one on the right side is the platform on which you rest the Joy-Con during disassembly or reassembly. It has two holes so to fit both right and left side Joy-Con as the location of the joystick differs. I like this platform because it allows you to take the back panel and hang it off by the side without having to disconnect all the ribbon cables. You could do this without the tool as well, but you might have a bigger risk of damaging those connectors. And this other one is the screw tray. This tray has allocated spaces for each round of screws. For example, you've got 4 on the back panel, and you have 4 squares down here, and some more. Now that we've clarified what these tools are and what they do, let's get started with the repair. First, we unscrew the back panel, which is attached by 4 tri-wing screws. Then we gently pry the back panel off. I like to begin from the bottom corner and work my way through the sides, and finally lift the top corner. Once the back panel lifts off, you can gently lift it and place it on its side. If you have this tool, the panel will hold its position by itself, and if you don't, well, try not to snap or pull on those 2 ribbon cables. We can then pry the battery out of its slot. It is usually held by 2 small pieces of double-sided tape. Underneath the battery slot, you can see 4 screws in the middle and 1 by the corner. As I have the 3D printed tray, I will use the slots that I have dedicated. Once the screws are out, you can move the plastic middle frame away by gently lifting it, then turning it 180 degrees towards the ribbon cable and letting it rest. Once we are here, we have access to the joystick component. There are 2 screws to remove and 1 ribbon cable to disconnect, although we have to remove another ribbon cable in order to access one of the screws. You could technically just shove it to the side and take the screw out, but I do not recommend this as you may damage the cable. You can take the ribbon cable out after lifting the latch holding it. And now you can take the entire joystick component out of the Joy-Con shell. Here is what the old one looks like. Now we take a brand new joystick component and do everything in reverse. If the joystick is the only problem for you, then this is where you would stop. This particular Joy-Con also has an issue where the face buttons feel mushy when pressed. I assume due to something sticky. I have reassembled the console to test that the joystick works, and as you can see, it does. Now I will disassemble it again, although this time I will dig deeper in order to get to those face buttons. We do everything that we've done until the joystick, and then remove all the ribbon cables connected as well as the joystick component itself. Once this is done, the motherboard will be free to remove. Now that we have every other component out of the way, we can finally reach the buttons and their membranes. I would recommend using an over 70% IPA with some cotton swabs. Now I will clean the shell, membranes, as well as the buttons to the best I can. Once the cleaning has been done, it is time to reassemble the console. First, we put the buttons in, then the membranes on top, and make sure to align these well. Now we place the motherboard and then the joystick. Then we screw the joystick to the shell, so to keep both the joystick component as well as the motherboard in place during the rest of the installation. After this, we connect all the ribbon cables, put the middle frame, then connect the battery, and then place the back panel. Once all of this is done, I recommend that you check for all of the following anyway. That the LED player indicator lights up, that the buttons are working and are feeling normal to press, that the joystick moves freely and registers the proper input. Finally, that the rails slide down well and charge the Joy-Cons. Once this check is done, you're good to go. We now have a red Joy-Con that has an issue with the LED indicator. I will show you how to swap this component as well. As this is a right side Joy-Con, it has a different layout and some different components. Once you take the same 4 tri-screws out, you can get into the shell similarly by prying from the bottom corner and slowly moving upwards. Once you're able to take the back panel off, you should see basically the same layout as the other Joy-Con, except that this one has an antenna and the middle frame does not twist like the other one, as the shoulder button ribbon cable can be found at an angle. As we will work mainly on the LED player indicator, we can simply disconnect these 2 ribbon cables from the board and get to work. Once we have the back panel detached entirely, we can simply take the 2 screws on this daughter board out and remove it entirely. Make sure not to let any components fall out from underneath, as they are kinda small and might be irritating to put back. Once you have the new daughter board, install it with the same 2 screws, making sure you align the top and the bottom of it with the plastic tabs. Then we connect the 2 ribbon cables, install the frame back, install the battery, align the antenna with its dedicated slot, and finally install the back panel. Once we're done, we can go into the console, connect the Joy-Con, and test the joystick as well as whether the Joy-Con is detected via the rails and it charges. It all works. So, on to the next. This one is a simple joystick replacement as well. I will not narrate this, but I would rather use this as another angle to the prior installations. If you enjoy seeing content like this, make sure to subscribe and give a thumbs up. See you next time.